The story starts with a huge mansion where young girls are being auctioned off to rich old men for exorbitant prices. Every single one of these walking coffins are certified creeps who deserve nothing more than death. But unfortunately, in this cold, cruel world, only money matters. A young girl with black hair starts crying at her fate, unable to understand why God would send to her such a cruel world, but a beautiful silver-haired girl named Daya calms her down, telling her that she needs to look beautiful and must not cry. With that, Daya is called out to the stage to be presented, and she happily moves off humming to herself. She is introduced at the special product of the evening with bids starting at $10 million. Almost every single person at the auction starts bidding on Daya, as they all want a silver-haired girl in their home. But Daya simply smiles and uses her magic to first create a key to her handcuffs, and immediately after, she creates a rifle with her magic and starts firing at everyone in the hall. Chaos erupts as people start running away while guards start scrambling to try and subdue the girl. Back in the dressing room, girls are confused at the sudden commotion, but before the guard could act, one of the girls named Tart, who was pretending to be a maid, breaks a bottle on his head, knocking him out. She turns around and spots two more guards standing in the doorway who immediately draw out their knives. Tart decides to take matters more seriously and draws out a spear from her ass and starts styling on the two goons, easily dodging their attacks and defeating them, and gets the keys. She throws the keys over to the other girls and tells them to run away while she quickly moves towards the main hall. Daya keeps shooting anyone and everyone she can when she suddenly spots the chief pimp lady who organized the auction and kidnapped all the girls after destroying their village. She quickly tries to take a shot at her, but gets interrupted by a sword strike which she barely manages to block with her rifle, but is thrown to the ground. She realizes that this guard has magical powers as well, but before he could attack again, Tart reappears and keeps him at bay with her spear. But as more guards start arriving, she quickly pushes him back and grabs her revolver before blasting them all one by one. Both Daya and Tart quickly get together on the stage ready with their weapons, but the guards are too many in number for just the two of them to deal with. Daya decides that she needs to use a large-scale magic attack if they are to leave this place alive, so she tells Tart to fend the enemies off. While she starts chanting the spell, Tart pretends to be back in an American high school and starts blasting down the enemies, while Daya focuses on her magic spell and soon enough manages to blast through the walls of the mansion, giving them an escape route. Right outside the mansion, near the edge of the forest, Lug, a master assassin, aims with his sniper rifle, noticing all the carnage unfold as he realizes that their guess was correct, and the mistress of the mansion is the culprit who has been attacking villages, burning them down and carrying away any beautiful girl they can get their hands on. He decides that he has enough evidence and is ready to execute the target, and with that, he uses his magic eye which enables wall hack, and with that, he manages to track the mistress of the mansion down, who runs from one room to the other, trying to escape her fate, not knowing that her future has already been sealed. With that, Lug pulls the trigger, no-scoping her with a clean headshot. This takes him back to his previous life when he was a master assassin on Earth working with his underling, where they were tasked to destroy a bunch of drug dealers. His accuracy is unmatched as he shoots down the goons one after the other, even if they try to hide behind cars. But after assassinating 6 men, he packs up and starts moving back. His trainee tells him that they can finish off the remaining mafia members as well. But Lug replies that he was only ordered to kill 6 men, so his job is done. The girl tries to talk back, but Lug tells the wench to shut up and explains that the organization only wants to replace the top members of the mafia right now, and they are not supposed to do anything that they are not commanded to. With that, the girl shuts up and gets into the car, but suddenly Lug notices an unmanned drone roaming around in the sky. With that, his heart rate quickens as he jumps into the car and takes off, telling the girl to get her weapons ready as they are going to get hunted down soon. Just as he expected, a huge convoy of soldiers give chase in Humvees and open fire at the fleeing car, immediately destroying it as it goes up in flames, but unbeknownst to them, Lug managed to escape by jumping out of the moving vehicle at the last moment, faking their deaths. Lug patches the girl's injured leg up and tells her to get rest as they should start moving at the break of dawn. While trying to get some rest, the girl starts asking Lug about why he became an assassin in the first place. Lug replies that he was born into the organization itself, and they raised him to be the greatest assassin in the world. They end up disagreeing about veganism or some shit, so Lug decides to show her a woman's right place in the kitchen as he points a gun at her head. The girl is shocked, as even though she is the top assassin of her class, this old man managed to point a gun at her. And not only that, Lug managed to grab her own pistol before pointing it at her. Lug told her that he managed to slip the pistol away from her because she trusted him, which is a very big flaw since Lug might as well have been ordered to kill her later to leave no evidence. After outclassing her completely, Lug finally takes the pistol off her head and puts it back in her pocket before laying down to get some sleep. The girl stands there shocked before taking the gun out of her holster and pointing it back at him. Lug tells her to simply get some sleep, but the girl threatens to shoot him for real. Lug simply stands up and shows that he has already taken out all the bullets from her gun, once again outclassing her, while she stands there shocked, envisioning a future making sandwiches now. Later that morning, they finally manage to reach back to their safe house, where he calls the organization, who congratulates him on his final mission and wish him a happy retirement, ordering him to come back to Japan immediately. He takes out 2 fake passports and some flight ticket with which they board the plane successfully. While on his seat, he thinks about what he will do with his life now, when suddenly the plane shakes violently and the news breaks that the plane has been hijacked. Lug finds it a little odd, so he immediately rushes towards the cockpit, knocking out the air hostess, and opens the door only to find both the pilots dead and the controls all broken. He realizes that the organization must be disposing him off completely to tie up any loose ends. He smiles at his own fate and tries to maneuver the airplane, but the organization is not taking any chances and sends a fighter jet after them, blasting them out of the sky, while Lug takes his final breath on Earth. He feels betrayed as he dies when suddenly he is woken up in a different realm in front of a white-haired baddie who laughs at him for trusting the organization after lecturing his underling about how to trust no one. He doesn't understand why this shoddy is playing with him, so he asks what she wants. The goddess tells him that she is responsible for the dead, and he has 2 options right now. One would be getting reincarnated back on Earth as a new man with no memories whatsoever, or he can choose to get reincarnated in a fantasy world with all his memories intact if he promises to do a job for her. Lug decides that he has had enough of Earth and its vegans, so he chooses the fantasy world and asks what he is supposed to do. The baddie smiles and tells him that he needs to assassinate the hero who is going to be born in the world. Lug is a little shocked to hear that, so the goddess tells him to chill out and offers him some tea. She asks why does he want to choose the fantasy world, and he replies that on Earth he was born for only one purpose, which was being an assassin. He was told to keep his thoughts and feelings aside and focus on killing, but at the very end, when he was about to die, he had regrets and frustration about not living a life that he actually wanted. He asks what kind of hero he is tasked to kill, so the goddess decides to transfer all the info about this new world directly in his brain. In an instant, Lug now knows all about this new fantasy world where people seem to have a lot of different magical and physical skills, which would be considered supernatural on Earth. Amongst them, the hero is actually going to have an incredibly strong legendary set of skills, which is going to make him a real thorn in the ass to kill. But Lug realizes that as far as now, the hero is pretty great, and seems to be doing good things. He asks why she wants to kill the hero, and the baddie replies that the hero will keep getting stronger and stronger until one day he will have a final showdown with the Demon King. In that fight, the Demon King will be defeated and the hero will reign supreme. But after a year or 2, the hero's strength would start going to his head, and he will become as ruthless as the Demon King himself, which will bring the end of this world. She wants him to prevent that from ever happening. Lug decides to accept this mission, but asks to be given a good set of skills so his job becomes a little easier. The goddess agrees and gives him the best stats that a human can have alongside 5 special skills instead of 1. She lets him choose his skills, and after he is done, she tells him to be careful, as even though he is above other humans in this world who only have 1 skill, the hero is still much stronger as he has over 30 skills. Lug promises to be careful, and with that, he is sent off to another world where he takes birth in an aristocratic family of noble assassins, with a beautiful mother named Esri and a master assassin father named Cyan. A couple of years pass by and Lug grows up to be a capable young boy, going out on hunts every single morning, where he has learnt the best ways to hunt down game is to kill it with a headshot before the prey even gets to know that it's being hunted. That way the flavor of the meat is best preserved. He successfully brings back another rabbit to the table and cleans it before deciding to try something new with it. His mom complains about the fact that she doesn't get to cook enough food for him. but he tells the wench to shut up as he is going to whip something up which even Gordon Ramsay would love. He starts slicing out the rabbit into small pieces while he thinks about all the nutrients that he is going to get from the food. Just like a gym rat, he thinks about using rabbit meat as the main source of protein since it's low in fat, but because of its gaminess, it's not very tasty. To mend that, he adds a bunch of herbs and dried mushrooms before putting it inside a pressure cooker. While that is cooking, he starts working on the bechamel sauce, which he learnt while pretending to be a MasterChef contender in order to get closer to his target, which was probably that bald idiot judge who knows nothing about food. He finally adds his cream sauce back in the stew and serves it to his family, who all love the dish, and his mother even pushes him to sell it in restaurants to make money. What a gold-digging thought. Later that evening, Lug's father tells him to come to the training room for his routine check, so he follows the order. Every single week, just like my uncle when he's drunk, Cyan checks Lug's body to make sure his bones, muscles, and joints are strong and growing properly. It turns out that Lug's family are also the royal doctors of the kingdom, but behind the curtains they use their status as doctors to get close to their target and assassinate them. His father is a very strict teacher and teaches him all the different healing and assassination techniques while working on his stealth, strength, hand-to-hand combat, and skill with weapons. This is very convenient for Lug, as this way he doesn't have to hide while training to kill the hero one day. After checking his body, he tells Lug to dress up again, complimenting on his recovery, and finally tells him that he might be ready for the surgery. This really excites Lug, as it turns out that his family has another secret up their sleeves. Lug's father and forefathers all underwent a special surgery which modifies their eyes into a very special weapon, as after the surgery, they are able to see mana, get better low-light vision, and are able to see things happening clearly several hundred meters away. Lug was waiting for this moment to arrive and immediately agrees to the surgery. After the surgery, he is forced to wear a blindfold for a couple of days, but when he finally gets to remove his blindfold, he gets to see the world like he has never seen before. He turns towards his dad and notices that not only can he see the flow of mana in his father's body, he can see the mana brewing out of his own body as well. His father tells him that they have also found a teacher finally who can teach him magic, and this really makes Lug happy, as ever since he came to this world, he always wanted to learn magic. Finally, the day comes when he gets to meet his magic teacher, and for some reason, his mother decides to dress him up as a cross-dressing femboy. Regardless of that, him and his family get ready to greet his teacher, who he expected to be an old man, with his name on Epstein's list. But since he is in an anime, of course he gets a beautiful silver-haired girl named Daya as his teacher. Lug doesn't seem impressed and wonders whether Daya is any good, which Daya senses, and decides to demonstrate her power as the top 5 mages in the kingdom by causing a huge explosion nearby. The next day, Lug formally introduces himself to Daya, who tells him to skip the formality because she is just 3 years older than him. She then gives him a small crystal ball that can store mana and asks him to pour everything he has into it. Lug obeys and starts sending his mana into the crystal ball, and Daya is impressed because he seems to have a good mana capacity. However, she was impressed even before Lug showed what a beast he is. He has increased his mana capacity 1,000 times because of constant training, and he keeps pumping the small crystal ball with more mana than it can handle. Daya panics as she sees it crack and tells him to throw it as far away as he can. Lug immediately yeets the ball high up in the sky, saving his family mansion from getting nuked by mere seconds. The powerful explosion rattles everything for a few miles, and Daya is terrified of her student's abilities now. Just then, his parents come running there, and they ask what just happened. Daya tries covering up for Lug, saying that she should have been more careful, but it turns out Lug's parents are super proud of his magic. Cyan says that the spell was great, but it is more suited for war, but they need Lug to be an assassin. He asks Daya to teach him some spells that can help with that and leaves immediately. Daya can't believe how supportive they are because she would get her ass whooped for breaking even a glass. But then Lug asks her if she has more crystal balls like this. She refuses, telling him that they are incredibly valuable, and they don't hand them out to anyone. At night, Lug wonders how he can get more of the crystal balls because they will come in handy to kill the hero. Suddenly, Daya knocks at his door, and the next thing he knows is that they are sleeping together. Daya tells him that as his teacher, she can order him to do anything, and Lug decides to obey her command to avoid any drama. The next day, it is time to find Lug's attributes, and Daya asks him to pour just a little mana into a crystal ball. She checks for fire and water attributes, and Lug tests positive for both of them. Daya is really happy for him because people with 2 elements are rare, but he asks her to test for the other 2 elements as well. Daya's flabber is gasted when she finds that Lug has all 4 basic elements, but she is also glad to find such a talented student. Next, she teaches him to convert his mana into a particular element, starting with the earth element. That involves this future PDF file getting freaky with Lug, but he low-key enjoys it. Thanks to her guidance, he is able to convert his mana into the earth element, and then a spell suddenly pops up in his mind. Daya tells him that it is the first spell that God sent to his brain after he unlocked his magic. He doesn't know how to read the words that popped up in his mind, so Daya shows him by example, and he is able to mimic her with passable accuracy in the first try itself. He keeps practicing till he masters the spell, and Daya is really happy for him. She tells him that the more he practices, the more spells God will transfer directly to his brain. However, Lug asks her if she can write down the spells she knows so that he can try casting them. Daya is intrigued by the idea, and when she writes down the spell to create iron, Lug can cast it perfectly even without God sending him the spell. She can't believe that she never thought of it, and Lug thinks that it must be some sort of mechanism in this world that prevents the people from thinking they can do this. However, he doesn't know what the language of the spells means, and he can only pronounce the words as he learns from Daya, which is not really efficient. So he asks her to note down all the spells she knows so that he can try and figure out the language they are in. Daya starts writing out spells to create different spells and finds some connections with numbers in them. Lug immediately figures out that the numbers point to physics stuff like the melting point of the metals, and he explains that to Daya. However, she is not educated enough to process physics, and I don't blame her because same. Anyway, Lug realizes that he can create a spell to create gold that Daya doesn't know yet. He has her transcribe the values in the spell language, but when she tries to cast it, she suddenly gets weak and collapses. Lug then tries casting the spell himself, and surprisingly, he can create a gold brick without any problem. He suddenly realizes that it is because he picked the B-rank skill called Spellweaver that allows him to create new spells. However, after seeing him cast the spell once, Daya can also copy him, and both of them get excited as they find a way to create new spells together. With that, Lug and Daya keep training together while growing closer to each other. Eventually, Lug creates the most American spell one can think of, and creates a pistol that can shoot tungsten bullets. Daya can also do that, but Lug is not satisfied with the firepower, so he one-ups himself and creates a cannon that can destroy a target a few miles away. A few days later, Daya clings tightly to Lug at night because she has to return home the next day. She wishes to stay with him forever, but that isn't really possible. Instead, Lug gives her a pretty knife made of titanium alloy as a gift to remember him by, and in return, Daya gives him one of the rare crystal balls. After that, she then makes him pinky promise that he will come to meet her when she really wants to see him. The next day, Daya leaves for her home, and once she is gone, Cyan decides that Lug is strong enough to learn more about their family business. He leads him to a prison with death row prisoners, saying that they are used as training dummies to make sure assassins don't hesitate in killing anyone. This makes Lug curious, and he asks his dad why he did not train him to suppress his emotions and become a killing machine, because then he would never hesitate. Cyan tells him that they are humans and not tools, and they don't kill someone just because they are ordered to. They assess their target's crimes and decide if killing them will really benefit their kingdom, and for that, they need their humanity. Lug is confused because this is the exact opposite of what he learned in his previous life. After a few minutes, Cyan takes him to a room and tells him that it is time for him to take his body count from 0 to 1. He leads him to a girl tied to a chair and says that she has committed numerous crimes like theft, robbery, murder, and arson. Cyan tells him not to hesitate even as the girl begs for mercy and says that it was just an accident. However, Lug knows when a person is lying, and he cuts her wrist with his sharp knife so that she dies a relatively painless death from blood loss. The loses her cool at this and ends her acting to curse him, which irritates Lug, and he throws the knife at her head to make sure she doesn't torture his eardrums any further. A few months later, Lug attends the Harvest Festival with his parents, but his goal is not to enjoy the festival or learn about his estate's economy. Rather, he wants to find someone with mana so that he can recruit them as his assistant in his mission to kill the hero. He quickly finds a person with mana, but since it is an ugly old man and not a cute girl, Lug immediately presses the skip button on him. he doesn't find anyone with mana after that, so he decides to be more patient in his search. A few days later, as the weather starts getting cold, Lug sets out to hunt some animals so that they can stock up on food for winter. As he reaches the forest, he senses some living creatures nearby, and by putting his ear to the ground, this mad lad is somehow able to find that it is a pack of wolves surrounding their prey. He decides to steal the prey from them, but when he reaches their location, he finds that the wolves are actually trying to eat a helpless girl. Lug decides to rescue her first and immediately shoots the wolf attacking her. He then does the superhero landing right in front of her to farm some aura, and then tells her to hold his gear as he practices his skills on the wolves. Lug makes quick work of the wolves before turning to the girl. He asks her who she is and what she is doing here, and the girl timidly tells him that her family is really poor, and they kicked her out of the house so that there is one less person to feed during the winters. She had heard about Lug's family territory being a wealthy one, so she tried crossing the forest to reach it, and that is when the wolves found her. Lug takes pity on the girl and prepares some porridge for her. He tells her to eat it slowly if she wants another bowl, and then goes to drain and skin the wolves in the meanwhile. Once he returns to the girl, he tells her that he is the son of the noble family that runs this place, and she is really happy to hear that. She says that it must be a divine sign, because yesterday, she had a dream that she would meet someone important soon. Lug suddenly asks her if she wants to come with him, because then she would never have to worry about food ever again. The girl is really happy to hear this, but she asks Lug if he is really sure about the offer. He replies that he wants her to come with him, and the girl is moved to tears because even her parents didn't want her. However, before taking her in, Lug clearly tells her that he is an assassin, and he is going to kill tons of people in the future. He tells her that if she wants to come with him, she needs to help him with his work, and if she can't do that, he can't take her along. The girl gladly accepts the offer because Lug is the first person in her life who wanted her. As she takes his hand, she introduces herself as Tart, and Lug welcomes her, not revealing the real reason he wants her. Turns out, Tart has mana, and that is why Lug went through the trouble of showing off his strength, feeding her, and even revealing his secrets to her so that she would trust him. This was all a part of his standard brainwashing procedure, and he made sure that Tart made the decision of coming with him herself so that she wouldn't betray him in the future. 2 years later, Tart has become Lug's assistant, helping him not only with his job, but also with his daily activities. Under Lug's training, she has become a fine assassin, but the only weapon she is good with is a spear. Lug knows that a spear is not an ideal weapon for an assassin because it cannot be hidden properly, but he still wants Tart to be better than she is. One night, he finds her practicing her knife skills in secret, and Tart apologizes for coming to the training room without his permission. She says that she wanted to be more useful to him, but Lug tells her to stop. Tart panics, thinking that Lug is going to kick her out just like her family, but instead, he creates a foldable spear using his magic, telling her to use it instead. As Tart uses the knife, she can demolish the practice dummies, and even Lug is impressed by her skill and focus. A few weeks later, Lug and Tart go to the market, and everyone there is greatly indebted to Lug. He has been helping them by suggesting new types of fertilizers for their crops, and by using his magic to provide water during dry spells. The people give him their produce as gifts, and by the time Lug returns home, there is more food in his carriage than he can finish before it spoils. Tart praises him, saying that he goes out of his way to help his subjects, but Lug replies that helping them out in their day-to-day life is his duty as a noble. He tells her that just protecting them from monsters and bandits is not enough to win their hearts, so he has to do these things as well. Tart is impressed by him, because the noble of the region where she comes from is a greedy bastard, and he didn't care about his people at all. Later that night, Lug stocks some of the magic crystal balls into his stash. He examined the crystal ball that Daya left him and found a way to produce them himself. Now, he has thousands of those crystal balls, all filled to the brim with magic in case he needs to use them as a weapon. Just then, Tart comes to his room and tells him that his dad has called him to the training room. As Lug reaches the training room, Cyan gets to the point and asks him about Tart. Lug replies that she has become skilled enough to carry out small missions on her own, but that is not what Cyan is interested in. Lug gets what he is asking and tells him that she is not a spy sent by another noble family to steal their techniques. He assures his dad that he has been monitoring her closely, and her body language doesn't show that she is lying about anything. Well, Cyan is glad to hear that because if Tart had been a spy, they would have had to kill her. But that would be a shame because it is incredibly rare to find common people with mana. He still thinks that there were a buttload of coincidences in how Lug and Tart met. But now he is able to believe that it must have been a miracle that brought them together. With that, Cyan tells Lug that he called him here for his next training exercise, which is also a special test. He tells him that if he passes this test, and then just one more test after this, he will graduate from his lessons and become a full-fledged assassin ready to take on missions. Lug gladly accepts the mission, which turns out to be bonding time between a father and a son by throwing hands at each other. They both go into the forest to fight like assassins, and Lug realizes that the one who finds the other first will have a great advantage. He immediately loses to his daddy in that matter because Cyan spots him and shoots arrows at him before he can even notice him. Lug begins running away while scanning the direction from which the arrows came. He quickly finds his father and throws his knife at him, but he easily blocks it. Lug then gets down on the ground to attack him, dodging the first strike from his dad. However, as he tries to attack him, Cyan cracks his knee. Lug somehow manages to kick him and get away, and thanks to his healing magic, he can get his leg back into fighting shape quickly. He keeps hiding while thinking that he is stronger and faster than his dad, and he also has experience from his previous life. However, he is still being pushed back because Cyan can use his magic eyes to predict his movements. They don't work like Sharingan, but he can see the small changes in his body to see what move he is going to use next. Just then, he feels Cyan approaching him, so he tries to run away, triggering a trap. Lug avoids the trap, but that turns out to be a distraction, and the real attack comes from Cyan, who manages to keep him on his toes yet again. Lug manages to hit him with a kick this time, and Cyan vanishes into the forest. He then decides to focus more on predicting his father's movements than moving around himself and stands near a tree. He senses two sources of bloodlust, and just then, a knife comes flying at him from the right. Lug dodges it, only to find a knife coming from him towards the left too. Normally, he would have thought that Assassin Daddy was targeting him on his weaker side, but this time, he knows that this is a decoy too because a real assassin conceals his bloodlust when going for the kill. Lug deflects the knife just in time as his dad pounces at him from behind. Cyan manages to stab his shoulder, but since Lug has got a blade to his throat, he admits that he lost the fight. Later, Cyan bandages Lug's wound, low-key frustrated that he lost to his son, who hasn't even hit puberty just yet. He thinks that it means good things for their family's future, because Lug was even holding back during the fight by not using magic. Lug says that if he used magic, the fight would become pointless, as it won't be a test of his skills as his assassin. Cyan realizes that his boy is all grown up now, and he declares that he has nothing more left to teach him. He tells Lug that he is ready to take up real jobs now, and the only thing he needs is experience to grow stronger. After that day, Cyan starts taking Lug on his field trips where they assassinate evil and greedy nobles for their serious crimes. While their secret job is taking lives, their day job is saving lives. Cyan often gets invited to the houses of nobles because he is the finest doctor in the kingdom, and he takes Lug along so he can notice how much effort nobles put into their security. As they are returning from a patient's house one day, Cyan tells Lug about his final training exercise and also his final test before he can start taking jobs on his own. He tells him that assassins don't always enter through the back door, because sometimes they disguise themselves to go in through the front gate and assassinate their target by winning their trust. Lug knows this technique well enough, and he asks his dad if he wants him to become a chef because he is good at it. However, Cyan wants him to roleplay as a merchant because nobles lower their guards around merchants who can get them the item they want. He has already forged a foolproof fake identity for Lug as Illig Balor, the son of a prominent merchant family. The head of the Balor family owed him a debt, so they have agreed to his terms, and they are willing to train Lug as a merchant for the next 2 years. Soon after that, Cyan throws a party for Lug as he is going to depart on his final test. All the branch families that are involved in the assassination business are there on this occasion, and while everyone is happy to hear about what a genius Lug is, one drunk brat named Rana is pissed at him. He throws his empty wine glass at Lug, who easily catches it. Rana's dad tries to stop him, but he declares that he can't accept Lug as the heir to the family. He says that after Cyan's first son died, he was supposed to take his place as the heir, and it is unfair that someone weaker than him gets to steal it from him. Cyan says that they will decide who is stronger through a fight, and he immediately gives the command to start fighting. Rana wasn't even ready for it when he noticed that Lug was already behind him with his knife to his throat. He slightly cuts him as a warning, but as Cyan declares the fight over, he lets go of Rana. This drunk Karen, however, has not yet learned his lesson, and he charges at Lug, who pins him to the ground and breaks his arm. Cyan uses this moment to farm aura for his son, saying that this is how assassins are supposed to fight, and there is no one here who can beat Lug in a fight. However, Lug has something else on his mind, and later that night, he invites Rana to meet him in the garden. Since he is sobered up now, Rana realizes that he was acting like a earlier. He says that he is still frustrated to lose to a kid 4 years younger than him despite being the strongest in the branch families, and Lug tells him that he has it nice, because his dad, who is the strongest assassin of their family to date, lost to someone 30 years younger than him. Rana is shocked to learn that the rumors about Lug beating Cyan are true, and then Lug makes him an offer. He tells him to become his subordinate, not as an assassin but as a knight, because his swordsmanship is better than his sneaky skills. Rana might be arrogant, but he is not an idiot, and he accepts the offer of becoming the right-hand man to the future leader of the family. The next day, Lug leaves on his journey to train with the Balor family, and Daya tags along with him. Soon, they reach the merchant town Milchew, and Lug changes his hair color as he fully adopts his new identity as a merchant. Meanwhile, in the town, a blue-haired girl named Maha runs a small but profitable business. Her late father was a merchant, and she learned the basics of business from him, so now she leads a small group of orphans that offer to show visitors around the city. It isn't much, but it is honest work, and under Maha's leadership, her friends are getting to live a better life than they would live otherwise. Maha dreams of becoming rich enough to afford a house for all of them, and everyone is happy, but just then, a bunch of thugs appear in front of their base. These fools openly announce their intention to kidnap them, and Maha tackles them with her magic power, telling her friends to run away. She tries running away too, but the thugs capture her along with 2 of her friends. They immediately take them to an orphanage outside the town, which is run by an ugly bastard named Torin. He tells them that they are going to be part of his orphanage from now on, and the boy with Maha lashes out at him, saying that they don't need his help because they were doing fine on their own. Torin punches him, saying that anyone who disobeys him or tries to run away will be punished. Maha and others are thrown into a room where the rest of their friends are already present. They wonder why someone would kidnap them to put them in an orphanage, but one girl remarks that the Lord's wife runs a charity and funds orphanages, which is why Torin kidnapped them to earn some easy cash. Just then, one of the thugs throws a bag of vegetables into the room, telling them that it is their food for the entire week. While the others are hopeless, Maha tells them that they should start cooking. As they sit down to eat, the kids think that they always wanted a roof over their heads, but not like this, and they worry about what is going to happen to them from now onwards. All that happened a couple of years ago, and now everyone has grown up a bit. They are used as servants around the orphanage and also forced to stitch dresses to sell in the market. Those who can't perform well are beaten by the thugs, but Torin tells the head thug to be gentle on them because he needs them to be in perfect shape for his next business project that involves selling them out to sick PDF freaks. One by one, all of Maha's friends go through the most horrible parts of their lives, and one of them is so devastated by it that she cuts her face with a scythe so that no one would want to buy her anymore. A couple years later, Maha overhears Torin talking to his lackeys about how Maha has reached the age to get her own customers now. She freaks out on remembering what happened to all her friends and runs to the barn to cut her face as well. However, just then, Lug appears behind her, hitting her with some cringe lines about not ruining her face with tears. Soon, all the girls are lined up in front of him as Torin introduces him as the son of the Balor Trading Company, who is willing to take one girl as his assistant. Everyone gets hopeful except the girl who cut her face, but Lug is only interested in Maha. He asks her to become his assistant, and Maha hesitates because she thinks it is unfair to her friends. However, Lug makes the deal with Torin, who tells him that the girl needs time to be ready, so he should come after 3 days to pick her up. Maha panics on realizing that the bastard plans to sell her to some sick freaks and then attack her himself, but she can't dare to say anything in front of him. Lug accepts the terms but reminds Torin that since he has purchased Maha, she is a part of his family. Later that night, Maha is prepared to be taken to her first customer, and in the carriage, Torin starts getting freaky with her, saying that if the brat had come a month later, he could have gotten more value out of her. Maha thinks about Lug and how she doesn't want anyone to defile her before she goes with him. That suddenly awakens her magic power, and she pushes Torin, forcing herself out of the carriage. She runs into the forest, but the leader of the thugs catches up to her because he can also use mana. Maha begs him to let her go, but he restrains her, saying that maybe he should enjoy her first this time. Suddenly, Lug arrives there and tosses the freak away, telling Maha that he needs her to come with him immediately. Torin also comes there running, telling Lug that he can't take the girl today. However, when Lug declares that he can't put his family in danger, Torin tells his lackey to attack him. The thug charges at Lug, who easily demolishes his arm. Torin attacks him next, and Lug subdues him with ease too, but instead of killing him, he decides to turn him over to the law. On the other hand, Tart pretends to be Maha and visits the creep's house, but she has guards right behind her, who arrest the guy. The next morning, Torin and his entire crew are arrested, and the girls get to live their lives freely again. Lug even heals the scarred girl's face as a favor to Maha, who has to leave her friends behind to go with her Prince Charming. A few days later, Lug performs surgery on the real son of the Balor house, but he forbids him from telling anyone. The head of the family is really grateful to Lug, and he asks how he can repay this debt because good merchants never receive anything for free. Lug just asks him to let him keep his family as a backup place to stay in case assassination lands him in too much trouble. Mr. Balor is happy to hear that, and then he suddenly remembers that he finished the paperwork for adopting Maha into the family as well. A couple weeks later, Balor shows Lug the layout of a shop they own. He explains that they tried setting it up as a liquor store first, but that failed miserably, and now they want to turn it into another shop. Balor asks Lug to run this shop because he trusts in his abilities and character. Lug gladly takes the task, and later, he tells Tart and Maha about it. He tells them that he plans to use this store for his assassination-related work as well, and for that, he needs to sell goods that are targeted at nobles. He decides that selling high-quality cosmetics and sweets to attract noble ladies would be the best way to earn money while also gaining information. He quickly takes up the idea with Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, and his wife, who hates Lug's guts because she believes that he is her husband's bastard son. As Lug tells them about his idea to start a cosmetic business, they tell him that the market is already saturated and brand name matters more than product quality there. Lug understands that, but he says that he is going to introduce a completely new product to the market. He begins to talk to his fake stepmother about how removing makeup removes oil and moisture from the skin, damaging it in the long run. She agrees with him, and then Lug presents the world's first moisturizer bottle to her, saying that it can reduce the damage caused by makeup products. The woman gets curious about it, and she applies the moisturizer on her skin, immediately noticing the difference. She removes the mask to show her old and wrinkly face, and Lug tells her that if moisturizer had been invented before, her face would look better. Well, the woman agrees, and even Balor tries it out. Lug then asks his stepmom to try putting makeup over the moisturizer, because it will keep her skin protected while letting her decorate herself to look like a clown. The old hag is so impressed by the moisturizer bottle that she is ready to accept Lug as her own son, and her husband tells her to distribute it to her friends so that they can have a consumer base ready by the time the product is in the market. He then asks Lug how many bottles can be produced per week, and he replies that he can only make 200 of them. He says that they should not hire workers for that immediately, because that will risk leaking out their secrets to the competitor and instead gradually scale up production. Balor understands the logic and tells him to get to work, but Lug tells him that he needs to go to the family of medics and assassins for that because an important ingredient in the moisturizer grows only there. He decides to set up the factory there itself, because then no one can steal their secrets. Balor permits him to do so, and Lug heads home for the first time in a long time along with Tart. A month later, Lug's cosmetic shop is the hottest stuff in the market, and Maha manages it with her friends from the orphanage. Lug has become famous all over the kingdom now, which gives him easy access to all noble houses in case he wants to conduct an assassination there. Tart is impressed by this, but she is more impressed by his kindness in hiring Maha's friends for the store. Lug tells her that it was purely from a business point of view, but Tart thinks that he is just a Pookie pretending to be a Sigma. Anyway, Lug asks her about the security of their factory, and Tart tells him that spies have tried breaking in and bribing the employees, but they have not succeeded yet. Lug knows that their desperate competitors will take big steps soon, and that very night, he senses a person approaching his room. He realizes that the spy plans to kidnap him and learn the secrets of making the moisturizer, but fortunately, Tart and Maha are alert, and they manage to capture the spy before Lug even has to do anything. They torture him after that, but the spy croaks without telling them anything. Lug is not too bothered by that, and he decides to take his monthly day off to visit Daya. Both Tart and Maha feel lonely after he is gone, so they decide to eat something delicious while they wait for him to return. Meanwhile, Lug flies over to Daya's house with some chocolate cookies, and she tells him that she has created some new spells since the last time he visited. This time, she has created an anti-gravity spell, and Lug is surprised because he thought he would discover it before her. Anyway, they have fun enjoying their tea party and then practice some spells, and when night arrives, Lug flies back to his mansion. As time passes, Lug sends Tart out to battlefields as a mercenary to gain more experience, while he lets Maha handle the business so that she can become a more skilled merchant. In the meantime, he has been attending numerous parties and forming connections with nobles that will help him carry out his missions in the future. 2 years have already passed since he joined the Balor family, and now it is time for him to return home. Lug decides to leave Maha in the city so that she can run his cosmetic store, and she is confident that she can handle the store well and even expand it. She tells Lug about her plans to open branches of their store in other cities and shows him the first location she has selected. Lug is shocked to see the location because he has done some digging into Maha's past, and he knows that it was a store that was once run by her dad's company. However, when he was betrayed by his right-hand man and killed for his money, Maha sensed the danger to her life and fled to this city. Lug realizes that Maha plans to reclaim her father's company now, and this store is her first step towards her goal. He tells her to do what she wants because he trusts her, and he doesn't care if she lets her personal stuff interfere with her job as long as she can produce results. Maha is happy to hear that, and just then, her friends come to the room to give a farewell present to Lug. They tell him that he saved them from hell and gave them a chance to live a proper life. Lug accepts their gift and says that he will never forget them. After that, he turns his appearance back to normal and gets ready to return to his home. He leaves Maha to handle both the business and the information network he has created here, and she promises that she will work hard for that. She then asks Lug to visit her once in a while, because she would be very lonely without him. Lug promises that he will see her in between missions, and with that, he leaves the place. In the carriage, he notices Tart looking gloomy because she is also missing Maha already. Suddenly, Lug senses Mana nearby and immediately orders the driver to stop the carriage. He finds that a pack of wolf monsters has surrounded them, and Tart asks his permission to show her skills. As soon as Lug gives her the permission, she pulls out her spear strapped to her juicy thighs and hunts down the wolves one by one. She uses some magic abilities as well, and Lug is impressed by her performance. However, he also realizes that since monsters have started to come into human settlements, it is time for the hero to appear. Soon, they return to his family territory, and he decides to pay a visit to the local farmers first. Everyone eagerly welcomes him and gives him fruits and vegetables to show him that they still love him even though he ghosted them for 2 years. After that, Lug returns home, and his creepy mom immediately starts sniffing him because she missed him so much. Once she is done, Lug decides to see his father, who is working in his office. Cyan is really impressed to see Lug's growth in these 2 years, and he says that he sent him to learn how to be a merchant from Balor, but he didn't think he would become a world-famous businessman in just 2 years. Kane tells Lug that he sent him to the Balor family not just for establishing a second identity that could help him with his assassinations, but for another reason too. Lug doesn't know the second reason, so his dad tells him that he wanted him to learn another way to live besides being an assassin. Lug is shocked to hear this, so Kane explains that he has the talent to become a great merchant, and he could live a far better life doing business than killing people. He claims that he is too old to do anything besides assassinations, but Lug is still young and has not killed anyone in the assassination missions. That is why he wants him to think carefully about his future and avoid a life of bloodshed if he wants. Lug is opposed to the idea because he did everything to become a better assassin, and Kane tells him that while their job is important to keep their country safe, their country doesn't care about them. He says that if their secrets are revealed, even because of an accident, the king will immediately abandon them and attack them instead. That is why he created a second identity for Lug in case things go wrong, so he can quit even before starting. Kane leaves the decision to Lug, and he proudly declares that he will work as an assassin. Kane asks him the reason for that, and Lug tells him that he has met many precious people in his short life, and he wants to protect their happiness and the happiness of other innocent people like them. That is why he will kill the people who threaten to ruin their kingdom. And he doesn't care even if he is abandoned for this. He says that he will deal with challenges as they come. And if he can't be an assassin, he will think of becoming a merchant permanently. Cain is impressed by him, and then Lug tells him that he has another reason he wants to be a noble assassin and not a merchant. He says that he is in love with Daya, and he wants to marry her someday.